If you're new to AI, don't know much about AI, maybe know a little bit but want to learn more, you're in the right place. Hopefully this video is for you. It can help you out. If you've been in AI for a while, this video is probably not for you. It's probably just things you either already know or maybe a little too simple. But let's get into it. My name is Justin. You're on Fast Entrepreneur. Welcome to the channel. I wanted just to make a video, as I'm driving here, just to kind of help people that maybe don't really follow AI on a day-to-day basis. Maybe they're not in the trenches. They're not on X every day reading doom scrolling through posts. They're not following the models and the capabilities. They're not testing out things. I wanted to make this video for you. I wanted to just kind of give you an idea of where we were, where we are, and likely where we're headed. So hopefully this video can help bring you up to speed. Okay, so where we were, all the way back 50, 60, 70 years ago, people talking about AI and thinking machines seemed like a far way off. But in I'll say around 2010, we had some breakthroughs in some models, and how they could look at a bunch of images. And now fast forward, it still wasn't being used by the masses, but most people are probably familiar with what happened just about 3 years ago. We'll call the Chat GPT moment. That's the first time that these AIs became not only capable enough, but also put into an easy to use, just chatbot. And a lot of you may have downloaded, something like ChatGPT, or maybe you use Google Gemini or Grok, or there's a lot of models out there. But that's kind of what I think a lot of people think about. At first it was a chatbot. Now we've got some of these models are what they call multimodal, meaning that they can, understand not just writing, but, images and videos. You can speak to them, etc. So that's where we are. And we've mostly, for the last few years, we've been getting used to those types of chatbots. And the models have continued to follow this trend of getting smarter and smarter and smarter. They're able to, take more and more information in, process it, understand it better, and give you, better outputs, better answers with less what we call hallucination, less, making things up. But they're still not perfect. But just a few weeks ago, another major milestone occurred, and that's with this project called OpenClaw. This actually was made by just a single, developer, and he wanted to basically create what everybody thought Siri was going to be, but never turned out to be. Something that you could just not only ask a question and get an answer, but what if you could just tell it what you want, turn off your devices, go to sleep, wake up, and your AI says, yep, I did it all for you. Oh, and by the way, I did, X, Y, and Z as well. That is the world that we're in now. And that's the world that we're going to be moving into here in 2026. Right now, the capabilities that I speak of, they are out there. But for most people, especially if this is, if you're watching this video and you're new to AI, then these probably are not for you right now. And the reason I say that is, this project like OpenClaw, it's not an easy thing to download. And if you do download it, you can easily, have it, wreak havoc on your life, on your computer, destroy your files. It could leak your bank information. It could, lose your money. It could cause viruses. There's a lot of stuff that could go wrong. And so right now it's, being tinkered with by, some entrepreneurs and hobbyists, but really, people that have technical know-how, software developers, etc. But where do I think we're heading and going with this? So we need to know the word exponential, because these technologies are growing exponentially, which means instead of, they just get a little bit better and then a little bit better and a little bit better. No, it looks like they get a little bit better, but then they get a lot better, and then they got a lot better, and then a lot better, and so the time frame just shrinks. And so just in the last few weeks, I'll give an example. When OpenClaw came out, I mean, it shook the AI world. People were very excited, but immediately people started downloading it, and all those bad things that I said could happen happened. People's API keys were getting hacked, and wasted. It was crazy. There was a lot of vulnerabilities. So, but I just sat back and I was watching this very, very closely, but I said, given the rate that we're seeing of the pace of change, I anticipate that there's so many people, so many developers working on this because it's open source. Means that it's not owned by a company. It's just thrown out. This is software that anybody can download and use for free on their own devices. And I said, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to want to make the security better. Make it, take all those bad things and strengthen them. And that's exactly what we're starting to see already into 2 weeks. Not just one project. Now I'm starting to see other agents and other frameworks and things that are doing similar things. And eventually I would anticipate, and we're starting to see a little bit of this too, that even some of those chatbot companies that you're familiar with today, like the OpenAIs or the XAIs with Grok or Google's Gemini, or Anthropic, Claude, there's a lot of them. I anticipate that they'll start to be adding more and more agent features. These agents are the ones where you just tell it what you want and it can just go do things, without asking, just go do things. I think that the companies that you're familiar with now, they'll probably have those capabilities. Some have some of them, but they're a little bit restrictive, right? You can't do everything, but for most people, especially, probably if you're watching this video, they probably are, just what you're maybe looking for. And they're a lot safer perhaps than some of these open source models. So I just want to let you know that's where we are. And I do think that just, talk to me, come back in a few months, say in 3 months time. I think we're going to see massive, massive improvements in this space. Now it's demonstrated that it can be done. It's demonstrated, that the demand is there. So I anticipate that things will just get better and better. But where does this go throughout the year, 2026? And I think that's where a huge mind shift for everybody really is. If we're growing exponentially, how much better will these things be just by the end of the year? And, a lot of people will debate whether or not we're going to have, AGI. Basically, people don't even know what the definition of it is, so don't even worry about it. But, some people simplify and say, it's when we'll just basically have a computer that can do, everything, that the computers can do, that the humans can do, just be better. And I think some would argue that we're basically have that, or maybe we're there, who knows. And for most of us, we're probably not pushing these capabilities to the max anyway, so maybe we wouldn't know. But for people that are really tinkering and on the cutting edge of this, I think even when they're impressed of how these models are basically solving everything, they're coding for us better than the best coders. They're doing science and math, and these capabilities are truly remarkable. And we're just getting started. These will be the worst that they'll ever be. So when you think about what this could mean, this means that we're now moving into the first time in human history where our own intelligence may not be, the premium. It might not be the thing that sets us apart. It might not be the thing that, that we go and spend our whole lives on degrees and higher education and PhDs and all this. I'm not saying that they're not important, but but in some ways, maybe they're not that important. When you have access to computer systems that are easy to use for everybody and that are agentic, that just go do things on our behalf. And I do think that that's the world that we're moving into this year. Whether or not they'll be cheap, whether or not they'll be cheap enough, or whether or not they'll be readily available all at once for everybody to use, I anticipate, just like when you look at any technology, you have like an adoption curve. Some people will be bold adventurous early on, want to try things out, but they don't, maybe they make mistakes, or maybe the technology itself isn't quite great, so things can go wrong. And then over time, things get better, faster, cheaper, easier to use, and then you get more and more mass adoption. So whether or not, we have great adoption this year, I don't know, I can't really speak to that, but it's already being adopted, and I just think that that's going to continue as these get better. But this can have massive ramifications for how people work, how they think about, money and life and survival. We've had an industrial revolution before, where we replaced our muscles, our human might, with machines, that could take off that load. And now for the first time, we're doing the same things, but for our minds. And there's a lot of people that, they call them white collar workers, perhaps, that maybe their edge isn't there forever. I think that some people will certainly have longer runways, right? Some people might still have 5, 10 plus years if they have a specialty, especially if they can combine it with AI. But a lot of white collar work, you probably already noticed this. I mean, a lot of, say, call center work or data entry work. I mean, this stuff, if it can be done by a computer, if it can be clicked, with a human hand on a mouse, or, on a touchpad, or typed in, could probably now be done and done faster, better, 24/7, and much cheaper than any human, probably in these domains. And so I think we're going to see a lot of shifting around of what we do and what we don't do anymore. And will new opportunities be available? Will you have to create your own opportunity? And so I'm going to end this video, but I just want to, bring this up that, if you're watching this video and you're new to AI, or you're just wanting to learn more, I think you're in the right place at the right time. I think that, there's no better time than now. And even if you're just learning, maybe this will be something where you start to now tinker, you start to follow, some things a little bit more. And, maybe in a month or 2 or 3 months, maybe you'll feel that you've really grown in your own understanding of where we are and what these capabilities are and what they could do maybe to help you. And that's my goal in this channel. And no matter what you do, I wish everybody the best. And if there's something you like or don't like, feel free to write in the comments. If there's something that you want to know more about, maybe you think I have an opinion on, go ahead and write in the comment. Maybe I'll shoot some more videos about some other things in the future as well. But, I'm just a regular guy, but I wanted to kind of share my story. And with that, peace. Thanks.